again. Okay, so all the world has got ready to fight this bat angel black dragon thing that's come down from the sky, and they've sent out their armed forces in a grand combined operation. What a terrific attack it was. Rockets, projectiles of all sorts, missiles and bombs, shells and flamethrowers. Everything was tried. The smoke of the explosions drifted out over the Pacific like a black crawling continent. The noise of the battle shook the world almost as much as the landing of the dragon had done, and for much longer. Then the noise died down and the smoke cleared. And the peoples of the world cried in dismay. The dragon was actually smiling. Smiling! Aircraft flying daringly near photographed the vast smiling face. The picture was in all the newspapers. It was smiling as if it had been well tickled. Now the peoples of the world were worried. They were all great fighters, all spent their spare money on preparing for wars, always making bigger and better weapons, and now they had all tried their utmost to blast this thing off the earth, and what was the result? The dragon merely smiled, and not a scratch could be seen anywhere on its body. Its scales must be really strong like armour. Human weapons had no effect on it. But that wasn't surprising. This creature had come from the depths of space, out of the heart of a star. Nobody knew what it was made of. Perhaps it could not be destroyed by any means whatsoever. And now the space bat angel dragon spoke again. Oh, I bet he was cross. Or he might have been happy because he'd been tickled. It gave the peoples of the world 1 week in which to prepare its first meal. They could prepare what they liked, said the dragon. But if the meal was not ready in a week, just 1 week, then he would start on the cities and the towns. The peoples of the earth, the kings, the presidents, the ministers, the farmers and the factory workers and the office workers began to lament. Oh, what does lament mean? It means they were sorrowful and they were sad and they didn't know what to do. Now, what would happen to them? They would like to say the monster didn't exist. But how could they say that? There it was, covering Australia, staring out over all the countries of the world. Now, the little boy, Haygarth, heard all about this. Everybody in the world was talking about it, worrying about it. He was sure the Iron Man could do something. Compared to the space bat angel dragon, the Iron Man wasn't very big. Of course, he wasn't as big as that dragon. The Iron Man was only the size of a tall tree. Nevertheless, Hogarth had faith in the Iron Man. He visited the Iron Man in his scrapyard and started to talk to him about the great monster that was threatening the earth. Please, he asked, please, can't you think of some way of getting rid of it? If you can't, then it's the end of us all. The Iron Man chewed thoughtfully at his favourite titbit, a juicy, spicy old gas stove. He shook his head slowly. Please think of something, Hogarth cried. If this space bat angel dragon licks all life off the earth, that'll be the end of your scrap iron. There'll be no people left to make it. The Iron Man became still. He seemed to be thinking. Suddenly, his headlamps blazed red, green, blue and white all at once. He'd had an idea, and he stood up. In a great grinding voice he gave his commands. Hogarth danced for joy. The Iron Man had had the most stupendous idea. The Iron Man would go out as the champion of the earth against the monster from space. Woo! Go Iron Man! And that's the end of that chapter. We're going to have to find out what happens next time I read to you. And the last chapter is called The Iron Man's Challenge. What do you think's going to happen? Do you think he'll win? Or do you think this huge dragon will just I don't know, sit on the Iron Man so he can't move. He's very big. I wonder if he breathes fire. He might melt the Iron Man. Oh, you try and think of what's going to happen, and I'll read the next chapter tomorrow. Okay, love you all lots.